Welcome to Gente On Air on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW and online WSGW.com. Now, here is your host, Larry Rodarte.
Good evening, buenos noches. Welcome to Mi Gente On Air live as we talk about Latino culture, concerns, and contributions. Yes, I am your host, Larry Rodarte, and we are attempting is the word, to produce this show now in its second year, going live stream to conjure up more audience participation. So please come on in. Those of you, do you see me on there? I do not at this moment, but we are going to go along. So I want to ask the question, who recalls in their mind getting ready for the annual Cinco de Mayo, finding your spot on Michigan Avenue as an onlooker or waving to the parade participants? Did you see the Civica Queen in the parade route or the Damas de Guadalupe? How about the Saginaw High Band, the Mighty Trojans, performing with their great percussion? Or how about the lowriders in their beautiful cars? Yet here we are still in the pandemic now, almost 2 years since we went into lockdown, and this is why we're doing this show today. Since March of 2020, we've had to cancel our beautiful annual Cinco de Mayo celebration to be safe. We've canceled most events of the Unión Cívica Mexicana, the sponsoring organization, and if we cancel in 2020, then it will be 3 years of no Cinco de Mayo. So that's where we're at today, and this is why I've called this show, asked my producer if we could do a show in regard to this, because I want to know what everybody's thoughts are. And today I've invited a friend of the annual Cinco de Mayo. He is the general manager of the Dow Event Center. Help me welcome to the show John Block to Mi Gente On Air. Hello, John.
Hi, Larry.
How are
you?
you?
To be here.
Where are you, John? Tell me right now.
I am sitting in front of my computer at the Dow Event Center, getting ready for a number of events here coming up.
Well, you're a busy man, and it's quite late, after 7 o'clock, and you're still there at the Dow Event Center doing what you love to do, right?
Exactly. It's my life's passion, and I enjoy doing it, but it does require long hours and a lot of dedication, and this is what we do.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you, John, starting off, because as the general manager there at the Dow Event Center, we have worked really close with you, meaning the staff of the Unión Cívica Mexicana that puts on the annual Cinco de Mayo. How do you see the annual Cinco de Mayo from your perspective?
Oh, it's a vital event in the community. We had been trying to attract that here for years, and finally we've been able to get together and work out the details for it to happen last few years before the pandemic. And that has become one of the anchor events for Huntington Event Park, and just a great community celebration, which is what that event park was built for. And I think, right before the pandemic, when we did our last one, we had over 5,000 people there, and it was just a tremendous celebration of the heritage of our local Hispanic community.
Yeah, and for it to be 40 years that we have done this in the community is quite astounding. And I don't even know if we count the last 2 years as if it's if we say 41 and 42, and then this would actually be our 43rd annual Cinco de Mayo. What is everybody doing about that?
What is everyone doing about the pandemic?
No, about, when you have an annual event and you've missed the last 2 years, what do you go on? Do we say it's the 41st or the 43rd?
Yeah. So we're doing brouhaha this week, actually, Friday and Saturday, and we've had that for a number of years. When we stopped pre-pandemic, it was the 9th year. We are advertising it as the 10th year because unfortunately we weren't allowed to have it in the past. So in the past year during the pandemic. So I guess you're still going off of year 40 there.
Okay, so then this would actually be the 43rd annual if we do go forward. And I just want to take a mention to say hi to those on Facebook who are seeing us. Bridget Staffolino from Jolt Credit Union, Nancy, my sister, Rodriguez is on there, Amanda Espinosa. We really want to encourage participation with the community because we want their input in regard to Cinco de Mayo, yay or nay, do we go forward? And John, I just want to ask you, how are the events that you're putting on now? How are they, especially going through the holiday season? How have they been accepted by the community?
They've been accepted exceptionally well. I'd say attendance is on par with what we've done in the past. We may have a few less, people who buy tickets may not show up at the last minute because of health concerns at that time. But for the most part, people are coming out and they're enjoying themselves. And, the great thing is there's a lot of personal responsibility in this pandemic and taking care of yourself and the neighbors. And people have been making healthy choices when they've been here. Some choose to wear masks. Some are vaccinated, some are unvaccinated, but people are really looking out for each other.
Yeah. I mean, we're 2 years into this pandemic and we know what it takes to be healthy. And I've been a big proponent of getting the vaccination, of course, and wearing the mask. I wear my mask pretty much everywhere, anytime I'm out in public. So, I mean, we know what we have to do. And what are you telling your participants there at the Dow Event Center when they attend an event? What is the message that is being sent from the Dow Event Center?
So for the general events, because different events have different requirements based on who's producing those events. So overall, as a facility here, we're highly encouraging masks. It's not mandated, but we're highly encouraging people to wear their masks while they're here at the facilities enjoying themselves. While they're not eating or drinking. When they're eating or drinking, obviously take off the mask. We also are doing a lot of high level of sanitization, a higher level of sanitization than what was previously done to make sure things are sanitized throughout the facility. We also expressed that we have a high level of we have a high amount of hand sanitizer available to the public, higher than pre-pandemic, obviously. Pretty much every entrance and everywhere you go, you'll see a hand sanitizer available to the public. And then we're doing a lot of things like we do a sanitization on our HVAC units that helps purify some of the air. We do that regularly to help that as well. And another thing that we're encouraging people, and the message that we're putting out there, listen, if you're coming to an event and you don't feel well, whatever the reason may be, stay home. It's better to stay home and take care of yourself and than to come in and be on the edge of maybe you're not feeling quite right. It's best to stay home. There will be more events. Come back when you feel better.
Yeah, that really makes sense. And like I said, we have been 2 years into this pandemic. We know what it takes to be healthy. And even though you may have your vaccination shots and you may even have the booster shot, there's still a chance that you could get the COVID virus. But the chances are, less, and you're protecting yourself, you're protecting those around you. And it's important that we do our part individually because we're here in this greater community. And the good thing about if we did have Cinco de Mayo this year and we have the parade and we have the event at the Huntington Event Park, it's all outside, so that's a plus. So I see all these different events and they're inside, but hopefully by May 7th the weather's warmer and we're going to be outside and we're going to have a great sunny day. But I want to go back, John, a little bit as I have you here. Tell me a little bit about your experience for the 40th annual Cinco de Mayo, because we had a huge blowout festival there at the Huntington Event Park, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the largest one that we've had here at the event park in our years of working with you. And man, I still have pictures of the park just filled with people. from fence line to fence line, and enjoying wonderful entertainment, even better food, and just enjoying being together as a community. I think, we lack that these days after these 2 years, these almost 2 years of the pandemic. There's something to be said beyond the entertainment and the food and the festivities and the games and the activities, everything that you put on here at this event. There's something about being together with your community, and I think a lot of people have lost that feeling, and it can be an isolating feeling. And I think if we could do this again in May, I think a lot of people mentally would be refreshed by being able to come back again together to celebrate.
Yeah, what nicely said, John. Very, very nicely said. I do want to mention also that we had one time going into the Cinco de Mayo there at Huntington Event Park, and I think we've had it there a couple of years now, but we had a freak storm the day before. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's important for some of the people that we had in attendance. We had to not allow the lowrider cars in the park because of what happened with that freak storm. And I wanted to make sure that they hear it from you, what actually happened.
Well, that is one of the most bizarre things. Of course, not the pandemic. The pandemic is bizarre, but that is one of the most bizarre things that have ever happened to me. It was a few days before the event, and I went over to the event park to take care of some stuff, and there was a high windstorm. There wasn't much of anything else other than really high winds. And we have a netting up on the fence line that blocks the view. So ticket holders have access to the park and can access the festivities. But those people standing outside the fence line can only hear. They won't be able to see if there's a performance going on. So that netting was up on the fence, and pretty much as I was over there during the high winds, I noticed that the south fence line started collapsing, coming down. And I was over there by myself, and I went over there, and it feels like I was there for hours, but at least a half hour. I tried to hold up as much of the fence as I possibly could, and unfortunately, we lost most of the south fence line to that storm. So without a barricade, it's a little difficult to host an event. We had to scramble to make things happen, considering that was a couple days before, and it eliminated a good portion of our event park. One where we were going to host the lowriders. The fence was down. There was a lot of scrap in that area. We had to basically close it off for safety, and that was bizarre. But I remember very vividly sitting over there trying to hold up that fence, and unfortunately, one man couldn't do it, and we lost our fence. Well, a southern portion of our fence that day.
Yeah, so the sidewalk area that is on the right side there by the Behringer building, we were planning on having the lowrider cars displayed there, and because of the incident with the freak storm, it just wasn't safe. And John had said, we better not allow them in there for that, and that's why that incident happened. And I can't even remember what year it was. I think it was 2017 or 2018 going into this, but we would never want to not include our lowrider community, because that is such a big part of the Cinco de Mayo, and it always has been for I think the 40 years that we've been doing this. So what else can you tell me, John, in regard to what your opinion is to whether or not we should have Cinco de Mayo?
And this is just my opinion. Yeah. So I'm speaking on a personal level here, but I think we're all individuals, and you can mandate things and not mandate things, and do what you feel is right for the greater good. But I think individuals have to make a choice that, one, do they want to enjoy an event? And two, am I going to protect myself and others? And in my opinion, seeing the events that have been going on here, it is possible to have safe events during this pandemic period. It is definitely possible to have safe events, but it takes everyone to participate and make that personal choice. listen, if you're unsure of it, if you're in poor health, or if something's going on in your life that you're unsure of, by all means, choose not to participate in person. Maybe you want to support it some other way. But I think there are a lot of people that are anxious to get together and celebrate with community again. And we can act out of fear, or we can act out of intelligence in the fact that we know what we have to do. We understand what we have to do to maintain our personal health. And I think there's an opportunity outdoors and indoors to have that opportunity to still come together and celebrate and do it safely for the community.
Yeah, nicely said. You have a good way with words, and I wanted to bring you on here because I wanted the community to hear from someone else other than myself. Of course, I'm here tonight representing the Unión Cívica Mexicana, but I wanted someone else to represent the community that we have partnered with, and that is the Dow Event Center, the great Dow Event Center that has put on so many great events for us and so many events for the community. So thank you so much, John, for being with me tonight here on Mi Gente On Air. And we're going to also make sure that our community knows to support the Dow Event Center because it's so vital in our community. And I know when the millage was being passed and everything else, I was a big supporter of that because there were so many events that I can think of, even before you were there, John, that the Unión Cívica Mexicana, or the Mexican community, has participated in with the Dow Event Center. Even I think my wedding was there when it was called the Civic Center. So, I mean, it goes way back in the history of partnering between our Latino community as well as the Civic Center, Dow Event Center, whatever it is called. It is a vital part of our community. So thank you so much, John.
Well, you're welcome. And our relationship and this is truly a relationship with Union Civica is very important to us. We enjoy working with the community. In fact, and I will say this personally, I don't think we do it enough. We need to do it more, but it takes two groups willing to cooperate and work together for some very challenging projects sometimes.
Yeah.
So, the community is always welcome here, and we're happy to serve any way we can.
And I look forward to possibly doing the annual Adelante Awards again back, towards the fall with the Dow Event Center. And I always want to have it there because I love the big screens. I love how you guys are willing to put up our banners for the Adelante Awards. And it's just a really nice event. And again, it's been 2 years since we have had that. And in 2019, that was the last time we had it, and it was a beautiful event. And I want to just hopefully pray that we are going to have that again this year, as well as all the other signature events of the Unión Cívica. So thank you. Go ahead.
We hope you bring that back as well. That's another signature, beautiful event that we love hosting here.
That's John Block. He's the general manager from the Dow Event Center, joining us tonight here on Mi Gente On Air when we decide whether or not to go forward with the annual Cinco de Mayo, which would be the 43rd annual Cinco de Mayo. Back in 1980, Cruz Diaz and Joaquin Diaz, her husband, were so instrumental, as well as a number of different other people in our community, Mary Lou Mason, and just to name a few. They went around petitioning and asking the community, and sometimes it was door to door, whether or not we should have a Cinco de Mayo. And Cruz was really spearheading that movement and took it upon herself and recruited a number of people. Not only did she recruit a volunteer, but she recruited a husband, because after Joaquin and she met during that time period, they ended up getting married. But, that speaks volumes of who we are as a community, because I don't think there is another community outside of the Detroit market that actually has a Cinco de Mayo the way the Saginaw Latino community does. And when I say Saginaw Latino community, I mean that, of course, it's targeted towards us. We put it on, but it is for the greater community. And it really is part of the Great Lakes Bay region. And it's a wonderful event. We have brag sometimes that we have had the largest parade in the state of Michigan, and we have, with that annual Cinco de Mayo parade. And so it really speaks a lot to our second, third, fourth generation community because we're continually having it. 43 years is a long time, and I hope that we will be able to celebrate the 50th someday. I hope I'll be around. And I just really am encouraged tonight by the comments that I've been getting on this live feed. And I'm going to read some of them from some of you all because I think it's important that we get the input from the community. And Bridget Staffolino, who's a big supporter, she agrees with John. There was a huge concern with the college football season, and they found no apparent COVID outbreaks arise despite packed college football stadiums. And I know my good friend Elvis Mako, he has said that because he's a big supporter of the University of Michigan football and attended that big game, and there was over 100,000 people there. And I don't know what the end result, if there was any uptake in the COVID transmission at that time, but people are still wanting to go to these events and to participate. Chena Castillo, she says, I believe it's a good idea for our Mexican community, who have lost so many loved ones, that love being out at the Cinco de Mayo, so it can be a great tribute amongst each family to go and support. Because I know for sure my kid's grandpa was faithful in going every year and loved it. So we all go in memory of him because that was one of his favorite time of the year. And I'm trying to read this with these glasses, my readers, and the print is so small here, but that's a beautiful comment. Chena Castillo, and she is also a member of the Unión Cívica Mexicana. And man, we've lost so many, and I know Chena, you've lost many in your family as well to this pandemic, and it really would be wonderful to pay tribute to all those that we have lost for this upcoming Cinco de Mayo that I think we're going to have after tonight's session here. I can't make that decision myself. It's going to be the board of the Unión Cívica Mexicana, but I think that it's looking favorable just for the mentality of all of us, just for the mentality as we go forward in living today in 2022. Chuck Medell, Primo, he says have it. So, and he's got 3 big Mexican flags after his comment there. And he's always a big supporter with his pit bulls. And they participate in the parade, and you'll see him in some of the pictures that we have there, some of his organization. And, it's wonderful to see those pit bulls coming down Michigan Avenue and having them participate with their little costumes on as well. They dress up the dogs, some of the owners, and it's really a nice thing to see. Also, Cody Torres says, definitely agree. We should have it. Take precautions, of course, on both ends. People participating in the parade and people participating, celebrating. Cody Torres, he's got some good comments right there because, as I've said, we all know what we have to do in order to keep safe at this juncture in this pandemic. 2 years on, we know we should wear our mask and we know we should be vaccinated. So good comments there. Lebrado Gaiton, Deacon Lebrado Gaiton, he's asking for a memorial component. So again, those that have lost people in the last few years, we're looking to bring them in to participate, and it'd probably be part of the big theme of this Cinco de Mayo because it's important. Nancy Rodarte Rodriguez, she says it's time. Simple as that. So we're going to go into commercial break real quick, and I welcome more of these comments because it's really uplifting for me. And I know those that are also instrumental in putting on the annual Cinco de Mayo, they'll love to see this. So we'll be right back here on Mi Gente On Air at WSGW 100.5 FM and 790 AM.
This is Mi Gente On Air on WSGW.
You can hear me or not, but I think it's important that we get more comments so that I can read about them on the air. It's really encouraging. I get the feeling that everybody really wants to have the annual Cinco de Mayo, and it's something that I question. Do we have it? Is it safe? Are we filing suit of other organizations? Would the Dow Event Center even let us have it? So I'm glad that we're doing this show because it's really reaffirming, and I think we're going to move forward with this. So Chandler, my producer, is here in the studio. He's directing me in the show. How we doing?
I think we're doing pretty good.
All right. So we're going to go on the second half of the show. If anybody wants to call in, is there the ability to do that at this point?
Not at this point.
Not at this
Maybe at a
point.
later point we'll...
I was real reluctant to go live streaming on this just because I didn't want to have to be prepared to always show my face on camera because that it's an effort. And but I see the importance of it, and I guess we're going to do that, and we're just going to grow continually each week as we do this, and maybe have a different stage behind me, and maybe have the ability to have guests that can call in and show themselves as well on the live stream. But we're working through that. We're working through it now, and that's why you may see a glitch here or there. I'm going to make mistakes. That's a given, but we're going to try our best. We're going to try our best to bring and produce a good show each week after week. So we're going to go back into the live stream here, and I don't even know if anybody can see me off of my page. Can somebody let me know if under my personal Facebook page, do you see me live stream, or how are you hooking up with this live stream? Let me know, please.
You're listening to Gente On Air on WSGW.
Welcome back, mi gente de Saginaw, Michigan, the Great Lakes Bay region. We also welcome everybody from the Bay City and the Midland areas, Mount Pleasant. And just before I went on air here, I did get a call from Mount Pleasant. I don't know who that was, but and I'm getting all these messages on my phone, but I really am scared to answer anybody at this point in time while I'm trying to do this show because I think I'm going to throw something off. So Angela Blanco, you're out there. I know you sent me some pictures. I don't know what it was, but I can't get them right now. But I just want to read some more of the conversation that we're having here on the Cinco de Mayo Facebook live stream. Barb Antiveros. She says, the Jesse Antiveros family, which is basically the Mamie Antiveros family, who was one of the original founding wives of the Unión Cívica Mexicana. She says they have always loved and supported the Cinco de Mayo celebrations. And I know that Barb and Jesse have always, been supportive of the Civica, just like their mother was. And I really appreciate that support. And they were really on me this last December in regard to making tamales. And I had to make tamales. And Jesse came in and said, I need 8 dozen, Larry, and was quite demanding. I hope they were good, Jess. But, I really want to say that I really appreciate your support. Valencia Olivares We've been in this pandemic, she says, for a few years now and have missed out on so much. Cinco de Mayo is always such a positive event in the Saginaw community. It's definitely time to bring it back. Like everyone keeps saying, we've been dealing with this pandemic for a while now, and we know what we should be doing to enjoy events in a safe and considerate manner. Thank you, Valencia, for that comment. And that's so true. And like I've said in the past, I've been a big proponent of getting the vaccine. It's really beneficial for the individual as well as the community if you get a vaccine. And I don't care what your politics are. I don't care whether you're following science or whatever. The bottom line is that it makes our community safer. It's not about me, it's about we in this regard. And especially, if we're, looking for events in the future. I mean, I can't imagine, because I am vaccinated, I am boosted. I can't even imagine going out into, a relatively large event that has, a large number of people. I would not feel safe. I would not, want to go to an event if I wasn't vaccinated. So I don't get that mentality somewhat. And I think it's important that when we do have the Cinco de Mayo, one that, between now and May, which is only 4 months away, believe it or not, if you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated. That's always been my call, and I think it's real important. And if not, I'm going to, as the organizer of this event, the Cinco de Mayo, I'm going to tell everybody, we're going to encourage everybody, wear your mask out there that day. It just makes sense. I can't tell you how disheartening it is for me. Like when I have gone to Jack's Supermarket, I just was there the other day, and I couldn't believe how many people are just so free will about not wearing masks into the store. It just doesn't make sense to me. And not just, I'm looking at the elderly do it. I'm looking at the mothers who are bringing in their children. They're not wearing masks. They're in a public place. And it just amazes me that whatever, mentality they have about this whole pandemic, about the vaccines, whatever, they're not putting their health first. And that's basically what it is. So, Barb Antiveros also says, I use the Cinco de Mayo celebration as an opportunity to educate my grandchildren and myself also. And kudos to you, Barb. You do a great job with that. I remember Oliver, your grandson. I think he was less than 5 years of age, and he was coming down the parade route in a truck. And I said, Oliver. And he turned and he looked at me and he recognized me. I recognized him. And I just wanted him, I waved him. I wanted him to know I was so proud of him for being in the Cinco de Mayo parade, displaying his pride. So kudos to Barb and Jesse Antiveros for making that happen. Chuck Bedell says, the world is doing events inside. Why can't we have a parade that's outside? And that's really a valid point, because I do feel much more safe if we are outside in the great air. And I think it's a much safer environment than if we were inside. And we have to question also over there at the Huntington Event Park. It's also outside under the pavilion. If it rains, thank God we have that barrier. But I think it's important that we attend the event with going into it knowing that we have to do our part to stay healthy. And that's the bottom line for everybody. So let's see who else we've got on here that I can read. I really thank you all for participating. William Flores Sr. says, go for it. This was my dad's favorite festival in Saginaw. Mom and I love going each year. Amanda Espinosa says, very informative. Thank you, Larry. I will be keeping you all in prayer so that you have a successful Cinco de Mayo this year. Thank you, Amanda, for those comments. Diana Ibanez, yes, let's have it. Let's have it with 3 exclamation points. 2 years in a row. We all know, I bet we'll have some amazing floats too. And that's another thing. It's important that if we do go forward, we have this Cinco de Mayo, that we get the community behind it. And what I'm talking about, beyond the sponsorships, of our local businesses and the people attending the parade, we need participation of businesses and organizations, youth groups, to build a float, to display that cultural pride so that we can boast continually that this is the biggest Hispanic parade in the state of Michigan. And I would hate that if we did have this event that we would have, less participation, and we would basically just have, the cars driving down Michigan Avenue like so many other parades I have seen. It makes it a much grander parade if you actually have floats and you have bands and that's something that I just hit a sore spot there, because I don't understand why Saginaw High, which we love, the Mighty Trojans, they come and they participate every year that we've had the Cinco de Mayo parade, but we don't get any other bands hardly. And it just doesn't make sense to me, because I see all the bands that participate in the Christmas parade downtown. I was out there one year, it was 28 degrees, and I counted 7 or 8 bands participating in that Christmas parade. And we couldn't get more than 2 at the annual Cinco de Mayo when it was like almost 70 to 80 degrees. So something's amiss there, and we're going to tackle that in a future show. But I think it's really important, and I want to thank the Saginaw High Mighty Trojan bands, because it's always interesting to see them coming down on the parade route. You can hear them from way back, and that great percussion. They're banging on their drums, and then you see the great display, the dance by the girls, and it's always interesting, right? And so, I want to invite and encourage all the bands in the area, from the Heritage High School to Arthur Hills, any of them, Bridgeport. Man, we really need that participation. But it's important, like I said, that we have the participation of the business community, of the youth group community. I know Roxanne Chintaka over at Arthur Hill High School, she does a great job with the Latino group there. They've always got a great float. They had the Selena float that they did in honor of Selena the year we had Chris Perez, her husband, here for the 40th annual Cinco de Mayo. Tony Mann, he's saying that the UAW Loco 668, UAW Loco 668 is behind you and the community 100%. Larry, thank you so much for that comment, Tony. And Tony's going to be on our show here coming up in the middle of the month in January, because Tony Mann, he is the first Latino as the president of Local 668, the union, and that's a big accomplishment, because in the history of the UAW, and I know that they were put in place. I believe that Local 668 was in the 1950s, because my grandfather was a part of that. And I can remember my mom saying he would go down to Washington, D.C. and participate in meetings there for the UAW with working under the Gray Iron Plant. And I was really proud to see that Tony Mann is a Latino, and he is the president of the UAW Local 668. So thank you, Tony, and I look forward to our conversation coming up. I also want to mention that Angela Blanco, she's the president of the Unión Cívica Mexicana, and man, she's really been on lockdown. She wants to, keep safe as much as anybody that I know out there, but she's calling all generations of volunteers to pull this event off, make it a family volunteering. And, that's important. And earlier in the comments we had, I think from Deacon Lebrado Gaiton, about making it a memorial type of event that gives memory to those that we've lost to this COVID pandemic, or even, those that we've just lost, period, because there's been so many. And, in some of my conversations that I've talked to with people, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's talking to them on the phone, there's just so much loss. There's so much loss in our lives in these last 2 years. It's like, sometimes I'm wondering if, every time I talk to somebody, are they going to tell me about another sad story, somebody we lost in the community? Even, losing Betty White as she was just about to embark on her 100th birthday, and then Bob Saget, it's just, there's just so much loss. So, if we can somehow pull that into this Cinco de Mayo, a memorial component, I think it would be very healthy and helpful to so many of us, because we have gone through a lot as a people. We have gone through a lot, and we never knew in March of 2020, when we were hearing about the COVID, that the virus was coming. It was heading our way. We knew this. and we never knew what we were getting into. And I thought that, well, maybe a month or two, we'll be under this lockdown when it hit, when the schools closed and everything else. We had no idea what we were getting into because our generation never experienced this in our lifetime. Shoot, a pandemic of this proportion never hit, in the lifetime of my parents. It was maybe my grandparents, 100 years ago um, that last pandemic really hit. So, I mean, we're really, novices to this, and we've learned we're not as scared as we were in March of 2020. But we also still had to be vigilant and make sure that we're doing our part, washing our hands, putting on that darn mask, and not going into big crowds unmasked. So it's really something that we have to live through this in 2022, because at this point of the juncture, I think we all thought we were going to be done with this. Right, Chandler? And here we are. Jasmine Garcia says, why do you need any others when the best are already there? Thank you, Jasmine. LOL, Saginaw High Mighty Marching Trojans are the best. And I think my friend Joanne Vasquez would agree to that. Joanne has been a sponsor of the Mighty Trojan Band, and she is a fellow Trojan way back in the heyday of Saginaw High. And she's got some great stories to tell. One day I'm going to invite her on here and talk about when she was in Saginaw High as a teenager and what happened to her then. Adelina Gutierrez says, good suggestions about doing a memorial, Larry Gaiton. A float idea can be an ofrenda style. Wow, that would be cool. Adelina, you're on your game tonight, right? An ofrenda style. Can you imagine? And what we're talking about there, ofrendas, is the altars that you see during Dia de los Muertos. That is giving homage to the deceased members of an individual's family. So that would be a great idea. Maybe we could even, have Dia de los Muertos calaveras, marching down the parade. I know we've had that before, but, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see these different events, and making these suggestions. I think we need more of that so that it's not just coming from us at the Union Civica year after year. And in my board, we have to go through a lot, and we have to make these decisions for the betterment of the community at large. We're not looking to benefit just one individual or one business or whatever. We're trying to make this a community event that we all come together, we partner, and we have a successful event. So that's what's so important. Chuck Medell again says, Medell Kennels up north, Frenchies. We are ready with the muscle sign there with the Mexican flag as a part of his comment. He is gun-ho about this, I can see, and I'm really glad about that. We always welcome his participation. Sandy Ortega, she says, awesome show, Larry. God bless you. Thank you for the support, Sandy. I want to see you out there, on the parade route, watching the parade, maybe with your grandson. I know you're so proud of him, and your husband out there, Alberto. So hope to see you guys as well. Erlinda Olivares Martinez, she's saying we can hear you now. So was there a point where you couldn't hear me? I'm not sure. We're, like I said, we're new to this whole production of going live stream, but we thought it was important so that we could see the different comments coming in. And I'm not getting too many comments now, and so I need you to participate. I feel like we're in a marathon here, trying to raise money or something like the Jerry Lewis telethon, a telethon. And it's that's the feeling I get. I want to mention that Paula Reese is on here watching, and she's watching from the state of Georgia. And I know that there are others who connect on Facebook so much to many of my comments and all, and they've lived here in Saginaw before. Paula Reese, she has all her family, a large family, and she used to live over there on Montana Street and now is in Georgia. But she says, yes, Larry, I can see you live here in Georgia. And I want to just thank you, Paula Reese, for your participation and your comments. And even though you're so far away from home, you're still participating in your giving. So thank you so much. Cynthia Favela, she is the daughter of Chelita Favela. Cynthia Favela says, can't wait to make some patitos, LOL. And yes, Cynthia is one of our cooks at the Civica who makes patitos. She also is a hard worker at Walmart, and she is saying she can't wait to make these patitos. So go ahead, Cynthia. You're going to definitely be called upon to do that, right? I don't know if this StreamYard thing has stopped, Chandler. I can't see, but I'm not getting any more comments from anybody. Do you see any? Or are people just being lame now after so many minutes into the show? We got about 7 more minutes. If you got a comment, Chuck Medell again is saying, I have 70 plus people asking me that are part of his organization, are we ready? No, we are ready, again with the big Mexican flag. So thank you, Chuck Medell. 70 plus people. That would be a huge contribution. Thomas Salazar, he's from Pontiac. He says people are being lame, but he did make a comment earlier up in the feed. And let me see if I can find that, because Tommy is, I call him Tommy. His name is Tomas Salazar. And he has his group over there in Pontiac, a band that he plays locally in our area. And it would be nice to have Cinco de Mayo. Always a great time, Larry. So Grupo Ilusión in the house with Tommy Salazar. Is there any other band musicales that are going to participate in Cinco de Mayo as well? I think it's important that we hear from our band members, like Tomas Salazar, Champ Garcia, all the different musicales that are part of our community. It's important. Oh, and the dancers. Adelina Gutierrez says the dancers. And we always invite the Ballet Folklorica dance groups all the way back from when Carmen Menchaca had Xochiquetzal and their dance group up on the stage. That was always a big part of the Cinco de Mayo. And unfortunately, Carmen moved to Grand Rapids area. She is she doesn't have a group here, but we have groups from the Detroit area, the Detroit market, that are phenomenal when they get up there. And so it's really important that we have those ballet folklóricos, because it's such a big part of the Cinco de Mayo event. And when I'm up there and I'm on the stage and I see sometimes the younger generation as they're looking at these dancers, I know that they're inspired. I know that they feel that cultural pride, because as old as I am, I still feel that. And it's a wonderful display of the Mexican culture with those beautiful dresses and the dances. And we definitely got to contact our Detroit contacts to make sure that they would participate and come. Tina Rodarte, my goddaughter, she is saying, I think the community has spoken. Let's do this. And Tina has been instrumental with our organization as well as the parade coordinator. And what a big job that is. Let me tell you, when you have some of the attitudes that some of the people are coming with, beautiful attitudes, right, Tina? And they're just enjoying and they're excited and they want to make sure they're first in the parade before everyone else, not at the back of the parade with the cops. It's a big job that she has there. And so I thank you, Tina, for that comment. And I think the community has spoken, as she has said. And Val Blanco, her tia, she says, we will need entertainment. Tejano Conjunto Mariachi, musicians participation. What bands do the people want to see on stage and celebrate? That's a good point, Val. And I thank you for that, because Tomas Salazar, he can't be the only one participating from our musical instruments, people that are participating in the past, even though we love Tommy. We also have to hear from everyone else in the musical community. Ruth Guevara Adams, she says, the Civica All-Stars always do a wonderful job with Cinco de Mayo. Thank you for all your hard work you all put into the festivities. Exactly. The dancers and musicians are a plus in the celebration. So thank you for that comment, Ruth. And I am so proud of our community when we, even though at the end of Cinco de Mayo, we are exhausted, everybody who participates at the level that the Union Civica does, we are exhausted, and it's amazing that we even come back each year to do it. But we know it's so important for our community. We know how, as young people, we were once young too, and that's including me. We know how important the event has been in our lifespan of 40 years. And I'm old enough to remember the very first one in 1980 when I referred to it before with Cruz Diaz. She was Cruz Castillo back then, and she was soliciting people to participate and be involved with the first Cinco de Mayo. And it was something she didn't even know if she could pull off because she was getting a lot of naysayers who said, no, it takes months to prepare that. But I remember her contacting my father, Valeriano Rodarte, and she had him out there on the island. It was at Ojibwe Island, and she had him building from scratch, some booths so that people could participate and sell food from. I mean, these booths were made out of wood and screws, and guess who was out there in 1980 helping his father? Yep. Dad took me and made me hammer away and do those screws and put those booths together. And I think they became obsolete a few years later, but we were there for the first annual Cinco de Mayo. And I remember it was a beautiful day. We had beautiful weather. So that was the history of the Cinco de Mayo for my part. And I know it's so important for everybody else's kids and grandkids to participate. And thank you, David Guevara, for listening here in San Diego. It sounds good, he says. And I just want to thank you all. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for participating in this show's Mi Gente On Air as we say yay or nay to the 43rd annual Cinco de Mayo. I think it's going to be a yay. And so please do all you can to help participate, make it a great event, and say your prayers. The Damas de Guadalupe, make sure you're saying the rosaries for our annual Cinco de Mayo for good weather. I know that's what they have done in the past. And everybody get ready for the 43rd annual Cinco de Mayo. And that means talk about putting together a float with your comadres and compadres and get the bands excited to participate, and make sure that we have the juggler out there like we've had in the past, and that we just really welcome this event for our community in the spring. It's 4 months away, and we really have to do our part to see the success of this Cinco de Mayo. And I'm not talking just the Latino community. I'm talking about the greater community at large, the Great Lake Bay region. And, it's one of the things that makes us a great community, along with our Bavarian festival, our Greek festival. The Cinco de Mayo is so important. So thank you again for tuning in on this live feed of Mi Gente On Air. And I'll see you next week. Hopefully, I believe it's going to be with Bobby Valderrama from Question Mark and the Mysterians, who has a #1 hit on the jazz charts on Billboard. Hasta luego, everyone. I don't even know what one it was. It was from 2015, and we had this as our symbol because I think it was the 20th year of when Selena had passed. We've got Frida Kahlo, Cesar Chavez, and we're going to need somebody to help us design a new shirt for the 43rd annual. And oh man, the possibilities that we can do with this. And I love the idea of having a memorial, a tribute to those that we've lost, because it's been tough. So thank you again, everybody. I'm now not live, but we are just here signing off. And my producer here, I want to thank him, Chandler, for helping me put this together at a last minute. But we've done it, and what I mean by last minute was the way we go live. It was very difficult to sign on under my Facebook page under, what's it called? The system? StreamYard. If anybody has tried to put on a live feed at the last minute, that was Chandler and Larry tonight here at the Alpha Media Studios. So we did it, though, I think. I hope. But anyways, thanks again, everybody. I look forward to the Cinco de Mayo and your participation.